Okay, good afternoon to all of you today. I hope that everyone is having a great Monday. We're off to an awesome start. This is the Harris County Domestic Violence Coordinating Council, and this is our weekly pilot project going live each Monday for a mini session lunch and learn. I'm Thesha Jenkins, and I'm the training director with the Harris County Domestic Violence Coordinating Council, and I have an amazing guest with me today, Amy Johnson, and we're going to be continuing the series on children, youth, and domestic violence. Children, youth, and domestic violence. And definitely as you come in, please say hello. Please feel free to ask questions. I'll be monitoring the chat box. And if you have any questions, we're open to that. And if we can't give you the answer right now, we're going to get back to you. So again, if you just say hi and let us know that you're here. We're on a platform called StreamYard. And so can't always see who's actually coming in. So without further ado, again, this is the Harris County Domestic Violence Coordinating Council, and we're doing a series on children, youth, and domestic violence. Last week, we did an overview of just statistics and facts about domestic violence as it relates to children and youth. This week, we're going to continue the conversation and talking about how do we support children, youth, and their caregivers during the trial process of domestic violence. And I have here to help us with that an expert who has worked in the field for almost 2 decades dealing with domestic violence and sexual assault. Specifically, Amy Johnson, who is currently a victim advocate with the Harris County Domestic Violence Coordinating Council and actually is housed out of the Harris County Sheriff's Office doing work with domestic violence, sexual assault survivors, as well as homicide for those families who are left behind. Amy Johnson worked with Children Court Services for 16 years as a court advocate, preparing children to testify in the Harris County Criminal Court. Welcome, Amy.
Hi, thank you.
So good to have you here. We're colleagues. However, you're stationed at another place, and you are all around Harris County helping those families who have been impacted by domestic violence, sexual assault, and unfortunately homicide, which is on the uptick currently. So we really want to focus in, though, on your expertise in working with children and youth who witness domestic violence, because so many times what I hear on the news, or if you're on your social media, it'll say, mom killed and children unharmed. And here's the reality. We know that the children are harmed when there is domestic violence. And then there is the aftermath of holding offenders accountable for their actions. So with that, I'd like for you to go ahead and dive in and tell us about Children Court Services. What exactly is Children Court Services?
Okay, so Children's Court Services is a program within the Houston Area Women's Center, and its primary focus is it has advocates that are specialized in working with kids who have been victims or witnesses to crimes, either sexual assault, witness to domestic violence, witness to homicide, kidnapping. Anytime a child's going to have to testify in a felony criminal court, that's where the difference kind of is from. I know we have other advocates on the civil side that work with the family law part, but the criminal court advocates are specifically just for the Harris County Criminal Justice Center, and they work with those kids who have to go in, have to tell their story, whatever that story is. Is it that story about sexual abuse, or is that story about seeing that their father, killed their mother, and all the other trauma that comes after that? And so They get their referrals from law enforcement, from the district attorney's office, counselors. They have a director over at Children's Court Services. Her name is Pam Hobbs. If you need to make a referral over there, we can kind of discuss that, kind of when we wrap up of how to make a referral over to Children's Court Services. I think any of your law enforcement agencies should be able to get you a referral over there. I know the DA's office can help you in getting a referral. But mostly it's whenever there's a child that's going to have to come in and they're going to have to testify. They will meet with the child. So there's 3 different models that they will use. Now things are maybe a little different. It's been a while since I've been over there, especially with the COVID thing, but I think they're doing kind of teleconference Zoom things, prepare them once they get back to going to court. But there's 3 different models. There's a young, for children that are about 7 and under, there's a courtroom model that they use to help prepare. They will meet with the child, kind of play with them per se, of teaching them going to court, of, who the judge is, where the judge is going to be, where are they going to sit, where are the jury, who are all the players in the courtroom. Because one of the most important factors about kids going to court and going and participating in the judicial system is the more they know, the more they understand it, the better they feel, the more confident they will be. You can't put a child and just throw them in a courtroom and tell them the story. And so they'll meet with them. The advocate will meet with the child first, talk to them about doing that. And then whenever the time comes, when it's getting closer to trial, the district attorney always wants to set up a time to meet with the child to discuss the facts of the case. At no point in time are the advocates telling them what to say. The only job they tell them to do is to tell the truth. That's the only thing. Sometimes kids have all these questions, but it's mainly of what do I say? It's to tell the truth, no matter what the truth is. Is it good, bad, or ugly? You tell the truth. And then there's a second model that we have, that they have, is a coloring book. And so like the teenagers, 8 to 12, we have a coloring book, and it goes into each, everybody's role model of in the courtroom. There's who's the bailiff? Where is the defendant going to be? What is it going to be like? Where am I going to wait? And you go through that coloring book and you teach them about that. And then they have a video that they also can show the teenagers, because yes, teenagers are 13 to 18-year-old kids need so much support when they walk into that courtroom, as much as our 5-year-olds need those support when they walk into the courtroom. But it shows the video because most teenagers don't want to walk in at 16 and testify about their first, sexual experience being with their father, or they're, watching their father, murder their mom and then having to deal with the ramifications after that. They understand it a little bit more than a 5-year-old or say an 8-year-old may. So those teenagers tend to be like, no, I don't want to testify. So we just have to prepare them and get them ready and let them know they haven't done anything wrong, that none of this is their fault. And that the more prepared you are, the more you're going to understand the process, the more comfortable. The other main thing we want to make sure they know is that they're never going to be alone, that they are in that courtroom, that advocate's with them, and they have that support system. In some of our felony courts, the judges will let the advocate sit next to the child when they're testifying, usually 13 and under. Some rare occasions may happen where, you have a older kid who's really terrified. Then the judge may let us sit up there, or may let the advocate sit up there. And so every court's different. So we prepare them for, what, I'm going to let you know where I'm going to be. Preparation is key for them because then they know what to expect. There's, no hidden jump outs or no, not knowing what's going to happen. So the district attorney meets with them. We meet with them. The district attorney will be there. And usually it's like a paralegal, and then the advocate sits in the room for support. And then they talk about the facts. And then after the meeting, they go up and they actually see the courtroom. Where is it going to be? Where am I going to sit? And sometimes they get to meet the bailiffs, which helps tremendously because then they know who those police officers are that are going to be protecting them. And then, where is the defendant going to sit? Where's my dad? Where's my, uncle, whoever, or my mom, whoever is being charged with the crime, where they're going to sit. And let them know they're never going to be able to talk to them. They don't walk near them. They're never going to be up there by themselves. That they're always going to have that support person in the courtroom in there to answer questions. Another piece of that fact is the prosecutor's focused on the trial. Their focus is to make sure that justice is served. And so whereas the court advocate is focused on taking care of the family and answering those questions, because they're with them along the way through the trial. So they can stick their head in and say, oh, we're on this witness. Or, oh, we're on a lunch break. This is who's going to testify next. Just to kind of keep them up again, the more comfortable they'll feel and the more safe they'll feel. That leads me up to the part of it is safety. I think safety is huge for kids when they come into the courts to talk about what happened to them. There's a nervous part of it for professionals to have to go in to testify, to, kids, to just regular witnesses. It's a nerve-wracking experience to have to go up on that witness stand. And so to let them know that, they're going to be safe. This everybody is. In some cases, the advocates can give them a stress ball to hold on to, something, to kind of hold on to make them feel safe. Some kids bring stuffed animals when they go into the courtroom. Nothing really big, something small. Live animals. We've had, some experiences with that. But so it's what's going to make them feel comfortable. And that advocate will meet with that child and talk to them about that process when it comes up, even just prepare them of, bringing snacks throughout the day. Because kids get hungry, especially if they get stressed, they get hungry. Water, there's Coke machines or stuff like that, but that gets expensive. So just pack a lunch, pack some snacks, be prepared for what's going to happen, how that day's going to look, from 8 to 5. And kids are resilient when they go into the courtroom. When you think as an adult, oh my gosh, this child's going in to testify about this most horrific crime of him, finding his mother, killed by his father. He's going to have to relive all that. Kids are very resilient as long as they know they have the support and that they get support services after, meaning if they get into counseling. It's so important for them to, meet that trauma head on and talk about it, and will make it easier to, when it comes time to go to court, to talk about it as well.
Let me ask you this.
Responses are different.
This is really some great information, and I'm hoping that it's going to be very helpful for those who are first responders, as well as families who may be addressing this issue. So let me ask you, how does a family get linked into the Children's Court Services? How does that happen?
How they get linked in is either law enforcement can make a referral. There's a referral form, and I don't know how to on this platform, if we can send it out, or I can send it to you, Tisha, and maybe we send it out to our partner agencies. Like, I know the Sheriff's Department has it. I know HCD has it. I don't know in all divisions where, which units may or may not have it. I know at the Sheriff's Department, HPD, I know their child sexual abuse units make referrals. I know for the Sheriff's Department, I myself make the referrals to Children's Court Services. So we have that referral form. There's some little cards.
Okay.
So it's a referral form. You just go straight to Pam Hobbs and to their intake coordinator. And then the intake coordinator will reach out. And they also provide counseling referrals, assuming that, maybe that family hasn't made that connection yet to a counselor. Maybe they haven't gotten their crime victims. They also offer other supporting services. So that way, there's no gaps, right? Everybody, the kiddos are taken care of.
Right. So let me ask you this also. I think a lot of times that, and myself included before I started doing this work and even becoming more educated about it, that a case goes to trial, or let's say in the case of homicide, that unfortunately the victim in that abusive relationship has been killed by their partner, that the trial doesn't just, if someone gets killed on today, there's not going to be a trial that's going to happen in 2 weeks. And under current circumstances with the pandemic, it may not even happen in 2020. So what role does the court advocate play with the child and the family in the interim?
So the court advocate is a constant, they don't change in the sense of along the way, as cases move forward through the criminal justice system, it could be years for these cases to go to trial. Years. And so the constant, to have somebody constant and the family's familiar with from the very beginning, the court advocate can provide case updates, explanation of the services, of the court dates. This is what this looks like. This is what a disposition looks like. They're the kind of a constant same person that they will feel comfortable with as throughout the process. Whereas sometimes, the DAs may change. They get moved to different divisions. They get promoted. They leave. And so therefore you may have 5, 6, 7 prosecutors throughout that process. And the one person that seems to be the same is the court advocate. And they can be there to provide that family services. Whereas if, they get a trial date, just because we get a trial date doesn't mean the case goes to trial automatically. It can be reset 5 times after that, right? For whatever reason. And so they may meet with one prosecutor, and then, 6 months to a year down the road, a new prosecutor comes in. And so it's a whole new person they have to tell their story to. But the one constant person is that court advocate that's keeping them. So it keeps consistency and a sense of constant change when it comes to the process. So it kind of helps the family stay grounded and engaged in the process, because they don't want to be engaged. And if we don't engage them and they don't have somebody to support them throughout that process, they may just not want to worry about it, or they may, which sounds like they don't care. They just don't want to. They get fed up with waiting that long for justice for their loved.
Well, they're frustrated and they want closure. And sometimes closure just means disengaging. And I think that's what's so wonderful about even what you're doing now with the Harris County Domestic Violence Coordinating Council in collaboration with the Harris County Sheriff's Office, is keeping survivors engaged in the process. Because I know that sometimes is the pushback, is that in these cases of domestic violence and sexual assault, is that, well, the survivor won't come and testify. The children may not come and testify, but it's because they want closure. And again, sometimes closure just means I don't want to be bothered anymore because it's just too stressful.
Right. And just the follow up whenever you're working with families of domestic violence or sexual assault or homicide. The follow up with the families is so important. One phone call, does do it, but checking up on them, hey, just following through, seeing how are you doing? How are things going? Here's the new court date. Any questions about your crime victims compensation? Have you gotten your checks? What can we do? So they know that they have that support. So it's helpful in a sense of keeping them updated and making them feel like they're part of that process. So exactly. I definitely think that keeps them engaged, knowing they have somebody to call. Like, oh, you know what? I can call her and she's going to give me that update. And it just builds that trust. Is another P is kids have to trust you. And so I think that once you meet with the child and you build that trust, the non-offending caregiver, whoever has custody of that child, they have to trust you, because they're not going to be allowed to go into the courtroom because they may be subpoenaed as witnesses. And in trial, there's a rule. It's called no 2 witnesses can be allowed in the courtroom at the same time. So it may be that non-offending caregiver is going to be a witness. And so they have to trust you as an advocate to go into that courtroom with their child to talk about our loved one, talk about the most, important thing that they've ever been through in their life, whether it be a loss through their mom or a sexual experience, or, their mother, witnessing their mom being, abused by their father. And so having a trust factor where they know they can trust you builds their confidence as well, and knowing that you're going to keep them safe and that you're not going to let anything happen to them. So sometimes how you build that trust when you meet children is you get to know them. You don't jump right into the facts. You want to know them. How old are they? What grade are they in? What are their favorite colors? You get on their level and you use language to their level. And knowing that, that you really care about them, that you're not just here to talk about what happened to their mom, or you're not here just to see what dad did. So it's important to get to know them. And so you can always use their name, because then they feel validated, right? That you know their name, and that makes them feel special. And so that's important for them.
And I think, and that's good information for our first responders to know, is when they're also working with children, whether it's in healthcare, law enforcement, educators, is really take time to get to know the child and get to know what they're going through, and definitely using their name. You know, they say there's nothing more powerful than hearing the sound of your own name. So definitely important. Well, as we get ready to start rounding out, I'd like for you to share maybe 1 to 3 strategies that families can use in order to move forward through the whole trial process. As you said, it could take years. The trial could get reset. There's different players who are coming in and out. So what are maybe 1 to 3 things that you would share with families who are dealing with domestic violence, sexual assault, or homicide, and they are going to be engaged in the judicial process?
One of mine is to stay supported. Make sure you have an advocate. You have a contact person where you can get the information that you need. Because the more you understand the process, the more you know about what's going on with the case, the more comfortable you're going to feel. Because most people have not ever experienced that process before. Experience that process of the criminal justice system. And so having some support to help you along and to ask questions. There's never, ever any question that should not go unasked. You should, whatever, it could be a slight of what paperwork, or, but the more you know, the more you understand, the more comfortable you're going to feel. And I use the word comfortable because it's not real comfortable going through the process, but the more you're going to understand it. And kind of knowing what to expect. I think also when you get to that point of a trial, then also making realistic goals and outcomes, right? Like, not every case is going to be a guilty. Not every case, some cases might be a hung jury. Is giving realistic outcomes of what's going to happen in the case. And that's even being said of, it's going to take 2 years, right? Like especially now, who knows what that process is going to look like when it comes to the COVID, with the courts being backed up and things still kind of recovering from Harvey. But I know now, even sometimes I just to set timelines because they always want to know, when will it go to trial? I don't know that. I don't make any promises you can't keep, right? You can't promise when it's going to be going to trial. But when it comes down to working with the families, is being open and honest about them, and giving them all the information that they need and the support. And if in any kind of resources, if they, they take 1 or 2 therapists, child may not feel right for, you go into that counselor, they're not getting any better. And so then you seek out, well, can you help me find another resource? Then that's where it comes in, knowing that you have that advocate, that support person. I know I can call that advocate and they were going to find me the right resource. They're going to help me. I'm not going to have to help do this on my own because it's already a hard system to navigate and understand.
Excellent. As we get ready to start rounding out, I know that you've mentioned counseling a few times, and depending on the background of the family that's involved in the judicial process, counseling can be scary sometimes for some families, and then not even knowing how to access counseling. So can you share with us a little bit about crime victims compensation and counseling?
So crime victims compensation, it's a payer of last resort. If the application has to be filled out, you have to be willing to be cooperative with law enforcement in proceeding on with the case. But it will pay whatever if you say you have insurance and there's a copayment, they will reimburse for your copayment if you're paying a $25 copayment. You don't have insurance, right? But there's this counselor that she's the best, that, she's going to help get Johnny back on, from his PTSD. He's going to help work through whatever he's going to have to talk about. So we go see and we make that referral. Some counselors will just bill crime victims compensation directly. If not, then there's a form that the counselor has to fill out. It's the CMS 1500 form, along with the paid invoice and a receipt of payment. Then we send that up to crime victims compensation. It does take a little bit of time for them to get reimbursed, but they pay up to 66 sessions. It's not like a dollar amount. So, if sometimes it used to be, but now it's 66 sessions. So,
Wow.
and also if, say, Johnny goes to see this therapist and he gets through, they kind of work through things. And then, 2 years later, he's starting to have some other, kind of feeling like, he's having some more trouble. Or it might be closer to when the trials, he knows the court case is coming up. And so we go back to, the family takes him back to counseling. That application doesn't never really close. So those benefits are there. Okay. So they just have to reopen it per se. So it's kind of a lot of paperwork, but that's again where the advocate comes in who can help navigate through that paperwork with them. Because if they don't have that person to explain that, what's that big envelope of paperwork that's coming in, and what do I do with these receipts? They're not going to follow through with it because it's overwhelming. And that's where an advocate, you can help them. It's an overwhelming process, but we're going to work through that paperwork and we're going to make sure those bills get sent up with your claim number on there and that you get reimbursed. And that's another piece of that follow through of, did you get reimbursement for your counseling? And so, it's, just another way to keep in contact with that family, making sure that they know that you're there to help them, and to utilize your services as an advocate.
Awesome. Now, if someone's watching the replay, is it possible for them to contact you if they have questions about crime victims compensation, or they have more questions about the children's court, or anything related to victim advocacy?
Absolutely. Yes. I don't know, put like my phone number up there, or
whatever is best way to reach you.
Okay.
So
email or phone number.
Okay. So we got Amy Johnson.
And even on how to make a referral to Children's Court Services, or if they want more information about that.
Okay, excellent. And as you're closing out, anything else that you want to share with those who will be watching? And I've got your email up here, amyjohnson@hcdvcc.org. Or
okay,
that'll work. Okay.
Yeah, that'll work. I can forward it to my sheriff's one.
Okay, awesome.
Yes. So just know that you have, make sure the families know they have support. Make sure the children know that they're safe. I think for kids who've experienced any kind of domestic violence, any kind of homicide, whether they found the body, they watched it, or they just lost a parent to it, it's a very sad experience in that end, because if they go to court, they're going to have all these feelings that they have to work through, because now mom is deceased and now father may be going to jail. So they've lost both parents due to domestic violence or homicide. So they need to make sure that they know that they're safe when they go into that courtroom and they're supported. And that those families that are working with, the family members that take on the children who have experienced that, to know that they have, their own PTSD they're probably going through, and that they're going to need a lot of help and a lot of support to work through what they're going through. But that to let them know it doesn't define them, and that they can move forward. It's just going to take time, and with a lot of support and a lot of help, that they'll get through it, and that they're not alone.
Oh, thank you so much. And, let me go ahead, give me the email address for the sheriff's office, so that way it'll come directly to you.
Okay. It's Amy, A-M-Y.
Okay, say it with A-M-Y.
Dot.
Okay.
Johnson, Johnson.
Mm-hmm.
At sheriff, SHERIFF.
Okay.
.HCTX.
Okay.
.net.
Okay. And then that way you'll know that it'll get directly to you. So there we go. amy.johnson@sheriff.hctx.net. And so if you have questions or want to reach out, if you are a survivor of domestic violence, sexual assault, or if there has been a recent homicide, please feel free to reach out to Amy Johnson at the Harris County Sheriff's Office, and she will be able to assist you, make the proper referrals. And again, I just want you all to know, whether you are a first responder or you are a family who has been impacted by domestic violence, sexual assault, or homicide, that, as Amy said, you are not alone. Even in the midst of COVID, you are not alone. I want you to know there's some great work going on, even in the midst of this pandemic, that families are being helped. And so if you know someone who needs to be connected, again, please reach out to Amy Johnson, and she will get you referred to exactly where you need to go. And I hope that this has been beneficial. Hold on just a second. I just saw something in the chat. Let's see. Okay. Oh, thank you, Catherine June, saying great discussion. Thank you so much. Areli, I'm so glad you were able to join again. Thank you for all the important information. You are most welcome, Areli. Areli works with at-risk families. And so definitely thank you both for your comments. And if you have a final question as we're wrapping up, please feel free to pop that in. And if not, we will start winding down. Again, thank you, thank you, thank you. Let's give some hearts for Amy Johnson. She did a great job giving us some great information. So if you would give us some hearts and thumbs up and let her know how much you appreciated the information. And again, her contact information is here. Also want to let you know that the Harris County Domestic Violence Coordinating Council, for the month of June, we're trying some innovative things because let's face it, we're all having to make a pivot during the pandemic, and we are finding new and innovative ways to make sure that we are making contact with our community. Because here's the thing, the Harris County Domestic Violence Coordinating Council is about you and your family. It is about making sure that there is increased victim safety and access to services. It is about holding offenders accountable, and it's about preventing further harm in families because of domestic violence and sexual assault, and decreasing the number of deaths, letalities. And so we want to make sure that we're staying engaged with you to provide you the information that there are some amazing programs all throughout Houston and the surrounding Harris County to help families in crisis. And one of the ways that we're doing that is we have launched what we call Tools for Change. Tools for Change. And so you can go to our website and look up Tools for Change. And I'm, let's see, learning all this new technology here. I had the HCDVCC.org is our website. So if you go to HCDVCC.org, you can register to be a part of our Tools for Change. It's being held on the Zoom platform every Thursday in the month of August from 6:30 to 7:30. And this Thursday, we're going to have representatives from the Harris County Sheriff's Office and the Houston Police Department talking about the ways that they are addressing domestic violence. And we, again, it'll be on a Zoom platform. You'll be able to ask questions. So definitely want to see you there on this Thursday. So again, go to our website, hcdvcc.org, and register, or you can go to Eventbrite and simply put in Harris County Domestic Violence Coordinating Council to be a part of these conversations that we're having throughout the month of August. We are here to serve you, and we thank you, and hoping that you have an awesome week. And again, Amy, thank you so much for taking time out of your very busy day to share with us children and the system. All right. Bye-bye.
Bye. Thank you.